Hey, Verl Workman here. It's Big V, and we're talking teams. So what is it about the market today that keeps buyers from buying houses? Here's what I hear all the time. You know, I could afford a house when interest rates weren't so high. But now that interest rates are so high, I can't afford to move forward. As a real estate agent, we often think of slick dialogue or fancy things we can say to overcome objections. I would like to maybe take you down a different path today if I could. This is using emotional and artificial intelligence to help people understand that there may be a different way to move forward. Think about that. What if you could literally serve your clients by helping them see a clear path forward regardless of where interest rates are? The first module in our program series called The Shift is called The River of Real Estate. And the River of Real Estate is based on a Harvard study that broke down why people move. And there's a series of reasons people move. They upsize, they downsize, their children move in, their children move out, they get relocated, they want to live closer to work, they want their kids to play in a different school zone where they have more competitive baseball, basketball, softball, whatever that sport is. People move for all kinds of reasons, and we call it the River of Real Estate. In the River of Real Estate, in this first shift module, we discuss that agents have a hard time deciding whether or not they're going to be successful because the market may have dropped 10 or 15 or even 20% where you are. What we realize based on this Harvard study is that a whopping huge percent of the population moves every year regardless of interest rates. Your job as a real estate agent is to understand why people move and then put yourself in the middle of the river of real estate. Often people like to pull back and just wait on the sidelines and wait and see. Others like to get involved and they like to capture market share. I remember taking my 12-year-old son or 13-year-old son who had just gotten his Eagle Scout to Alaska to go fishing. And I spoke for maybe 2 days and we fished for 9 days. It was an incredible trip. And so we stayed at the University of Alaska in the dorms. The event was called the Great Alaskan Adventure, and I wish they still did it. And so we would go up there, stay in the University of Alaska dorms, and then we would speak, and the agents from all over the country would come and we would teach best practices. And then we would go fishing. I remember the first day fishing out of a place called Seward. We had gone and we walked up and down the row of boats looking for the best place to fish and the best outfit to take us. And I was kind of feeling cheap, so we hired a discount charter. And we got on the boat, and the first mate was asleep, and the captain, I swear, was drunk as we started, going out through the channel at 6 o'clock the next morning. And then I watched these other boats zoom past us going way out to sea. We didn't even go anywhere near as far as they did. And I remember being out there, and we caught like a couple rockfish and maybe a salmon. We get back, and after a whole day of fishing, I remember looking at the board, and we've got these little bait fish on the board. We didn't even hang them up, and I was kind of disappointed. And then I saw it. Saltwater safaris, 2 boats coming back, and they came back and they had big flags and they were going fast, and they got the people off their boat, and then they started hanging their fish, and they were everywhere. There was huge fish, and they were hanging up. There were cod, and there were salmon, and there were halibut, and my eyes were huge as I'm looking at all these fish. I'm like, I want to go with those guys. So I went right over to their office and I booked a charter for the next day. What a different experience by someone who understands where the fish are and how to go get them. The next morning, I remember sitting with my son, Nate. Nate's down in the galley, and the captain is saying, now kids, here's what's going to happen. When you catch a fish, you're going to say 1 on the head, and we're going to make 1 mark on the head. When you catch yours, we're going to say 2 on the head, and yours is going to be 1 on the tail and 2 on the tail. And Nate, you're going to catch so many fish, we're just going to say no mark. So as your fish are coming in the boat, we're going to yell no mark, and we'll know not to mark them, and those will all be yours. So sure enough, we get out there, and the captain says, drop them. And we all drop our lines, and it all goes out there, and everyone's going crazy. And all of a sudden, Nate catches a halibut, then he catches another halibut, then he catches a link cod. Pretty soon, we're catching stingrays, and then everything goes crazy. There was mayhem on the boat. And I remember Nate calling his mom as we were headed back to the dock, and he says, Mom, it was awesome. I outfished everybody, and then I took a nap, and then we caught more. It was awesome. I just remember how excited he was. That's what's going on in the marketplace today. There's plenty of people that can catch fish, but they got to go with faster boats. They got to go out where the fish are biting. They can't just be close to shore. If consumers are looking for a discount agent and they're looking for someone that doesn't really understand how to message to the market today, they're going to end up not selling any houses. So can you sell houses in today's market? The answer is Absolutely. But you can't go fishing where everybody else is. You got to go further out to sea. You got to go out where the fish are biting, and you got to message to them differently so that you can attract the right consumer. So what do we say, and how do we say it that gets people to engage? One of the modules in our Shift program, and I'm going to give you the River of Real Estate. You can download that right here, and there's a link to it right here in the video. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you another Shift module called the Interest Rate Offset Program. And I'm going to take you through how that works right now. So each of the Shift modules has this. It has a story. That is a story about an agent that had a problem. The problem deals with whatever issues happening or whatever threats in the marketplace. We then use artificial and emotional intelligence to understand the problem and come up with a solution that gets the client to move from a negative emotion of feeling frustrated and stuck to a positive emotion of being elated and moving forward. And so using the emotions wheel and understanding how emotional intelligence works, we're creating new scripts and new dialogues to help people move forward in today's market. Oh my gosh, how many of you are just tired of the same old scripts? Well, guess what? Here's some new ones. All right, so let's talk about the interest rate offset program. Here's how it works. Let's just say that you have a buyer and your buyer is frustrated because when they first started looking at the market interest rates were 2.4%. Today they're 7 or 8%, and the difference is pretty big. So the houses they were looking at before were, $450,000. Now that same house they can't afford the principal and interest payment on that because rates have gone up. So now they're looking at houses that were $300,000 instead of $450,000. And it's frustrating to them because they can't and they don't like the houses in the lower price range. So they've decided to just wait. Well, what do we know about the real estate market? What does it do over time? It just goes up. So sitting on the sidelines and waiting isn't going to help them, nor is it the best thing for them. But because they don't know what to do, they just sit on the sidelines. So here's what we say. We've created a calculator, which is also going to be free in the download, which is an interest rate offset calculation. So what you do is you enter in, here's where rates are when you came in the market, this is what you were going to buy, and here's what the principal and interest was. Now we put the same home at today's rate, and the new payment is $460 more per month. We don't have to offset that over a 30-year mortgage. In the interest rate offset system we've designed, what we do is we know that between the next 5 and 7 years, either they're going to move or the likelihood of interest rates coming down and their ability to refinance is very high. So we only need to offset that interest for the next 5 to 7 years. So we take that 460 and we just times it by 7 years, and that I'm just using round math, but let's just say it's $35,000. So the difference we need to offset in the purchase price isn't the whole difference of the new program or the 30-year note, it's just the 7-year difference of the payment, and it's probably $35,000. So now with that $35,000, my job as your agent is to offset as much of that difference as possible. So as you continue to look at homes, I'm going to go after seller concessions, discounted price, interest rate buy downs, 2-1 buy downs, different ways of finding ways, builder concessions to offset as much of that $35,000 as possible. Let me ask you this. If we could offset all or as much of that as possible, is there any reason you wouldn't continue to keep looking at homes? You see, we've taken a client that was frustrated and stuck and couldn't move forward using a very specific system and serving the consumer, and now teaching them that they can move forward and offset the interest rate. It gets them looking. Now, I don't promise that I'm going to offset all the $35,000 because you don't know if you can, but I do know I'm going to do my best to get as much of it as possible. Sometimes we get all of it, sometimes we get very little of it. But what I do know is that the consumer starts looking at homes again, and when they start looking at homes again, they emotionally get attached and they move forward in the process, and they're able to take advantage of home ownership. Our job as realtors is to help consumers move from getting unstuck to re-engaged, and we use a series of tools to do it. If you'd like a free, absolutely no cost or obligation copy of the interest rate offset program in the River of Real Estate, click on the link below and we're going to give it to you. And now I just want you to go practice it with your teams. Go through and read the story out loud, do the scripts and dialogues, get on the phone and call your top 50, and let's see how many people you can re-engage in the buying process.